a little boy that likes toys at heart. Big deal. Aren't all guys like that? We love our toys. My latest toy, I just got this little Zippo heat warmer at my local camping sports store. And it's a Zippo hand warmer. I love this thing. It comes with this little cloth case. It's a little tricky. I don't. If you get one of these things, I recommend that you fill it. You got to use this Ronsol lighter fluid stuff and follow the instructions. Read the instructions. Be very careful anytime you're working with lighter fluid and fire. But it's got this catalyst. It's really high tech in my mind. I mean, it's really cool. But basically, see, I put this strap around the thing just to keep it together. They could have made it lock better, but they didn't. I can't touch this thing because I got it going. It's really hot. But if you pull this cap off, underneath there is a place to fill it. And then before you put a match to this top part, you got to put it back on and wait a little. You got to read the instructions, but don't. I don't. They give you this little container to transfer it from the can because you're not supposed to squirt straight from the can. You got to know how much you're putting in, so they give you a little measuring container. It looks like a miniature gas can, but I recommend you do it about 25% less than what they recommend because it's for 12 hours. It can last up to 12 hours, but you don't need that. I mean, just so you don't. It makes a mess. I haven't had any problems with any serious fire, but you can. I just touched it and it's quite hot, so you got to keep. I might have burned myself a little, but this is the kind of toy when you get older. And everybody gets a little arthritic sometimes, so it's kind of nice. It feels good to have warm hands, right? I'll wear gloves when I don't see anybody. It's cold outside. Warrant's wearing gloves, but nobody else is. But I got sidetracked. I was talking about, us. We should be able to enjoy. Look, look, look. God gave us everything. He gave us the new cars that we enjoy. He gave us everything. He gave us all the technology. He gave us all the infrastructure. I mean, just think of the infrastructure. We're talking about the skyscrapers and the bridges. We're talking about the sewer systems and the superhighways. Okay, we're talking about the factories. We're talking about all the implements. Okay, all that heavy equipment, everything we have came from God. And people say, well, what do you mean? We made that. Well, we're God's kids. It was because he gave us a brain that we're able to do anything. So consider that. I mean, any of your achievements are attributable to God because God gave you the wherewithal. He gave me the wherewithal. So anything I could ever achieve is done through him. And I would like to enjoy prosperity. I would like to enjoy worldly things. I mean, if it's worldly to say, hey, I want to set up a cut flower greenhouse down in near the coast, okay, in Central California between San Francisco and Santa Cruz, let's say. I got a dream, a little cafe maybe, serve some fresh pastries. We could, sub that out to somebody. Organic and wholesome fresh baked goods every day. And the coffee, too. You could, because you don't want to do everything. So you have other people come in and take and run the business. And you just have, take care of something, maybe the music. You could have, different music playing in different rooms and give everybody cut flowers with their cup of coffee and for their sweetie. Boy, that's something a man can never get used to, not having a sweetie. It's like a drug. They say that your emotional maturity stops at the age you first have your first drug or drink. I've heard that said at these 12-step programs. And, I think they're probably right. But to me, the greatest drug I've ever had, the most powerful, purest drug I ever had was being married, being in love, being intoxicated in love, smitten, and head over heels, and feeling it was reciprocated. It's the best feeling you could ever have. But once you see, the problem with that is once you've imbibed, you're never the same. You're never content. You're never happy unless you can reinvent it, unless you can attain it again, unless you can retrieve it. That same feeling. And you know what it was. It was being madly in love, being deeply and profoundly in love, having given every part of yourself to another human being. And that feeling of wholeness, it's just, you feel like this is where you want to be forever. You want to feel this feeling of being smitten, being devoted, being in love. And it's the most natural thing in the world because it's the very nature of God, as the very beginning of the Bible says. I mean, listen, you can say what you want about the Bible and say I'm some kind of, just a Bible thumper or something. Hey, you know what? Listen, if it's got virtue, it's got virtue. Okay. And knowing this stuff is really important. It's called ancient wisdom. There's nothing wrong with knowing the wisdom of Solomon, whom to this day we still call the wisest man in the world, even though Jesus blew him out of the water relative to wisdom. Nevertheless, it's good knowledge and knowing what went wrong, that something went terribly wrong. This Garden of Eden, this fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, the forbidden fruit, the fact that our ancestors ate it, whatever it's a metaphor for, and that it really ticked God off. He was sorry he created us. We got to understand our origins. Our relationship with God was really, really messed up at that point. And to this day, it's suffering. And when Christ came some 2,000 years or more ago, this is all history, we had a big reprieve that God's grace was displayed in full, but it was what's called the final propitiation. If we reject that truth of what he brought, the pureness of the message, of just, listen, love God above all else. And if you do, if you've given yourself to him rightfully because he already owns you, he's the one that gave you your five senses and everything good you could ever experience. He's not responsible for anything bad you've ever experienced or in all history. It wasn't his desire, but he had to make us in his image and likeness. He had to give us free will choice. And that's what you could say, well, why did he do that? Why couldn't we just be automatons going on mere instincts like the vast majority of all the other creatures? I mean, they can think, they can imagine a little, but compared to us, it's ridiculous, right? So we're like gods, because we're children of God. And precious treasures, and that's how we should see each other by extension. If we did that, if we simply lived by the golden rule, treating each other the way we want to be treated, like I said, a little kid could figure that out. Okay, listen, the only answer again is to get off money. And that is the contrary to what the evildoers want. It's straight up. They do not want us to fix our problems, to figure things out, to come out of confusion, to come out of Babylon, to come out of darkness, to come out of stupidity. They don't want that. Why? Because then you no longer lack confidence. Okay? You're no longer discombobulated. You're no longer disempowered. Now you have confidence. You're recombobulated, and you have that power to speak truth to power, and anyone else will listen. I mean, what's the worst they can do? Kill you for not being a coward? But if you're a coward, you're going to get a coward's reward on Judgment Day when you got to stand and give account for your BS, your belief system, man. You want it to hold water. And you sure as hell don't want to find yourself in a position where you're defending the use of money in perpetuity. Okay, if you don't agree that we got to wean ourselves off this crap, okay, because we're mainlining it. We're mainlining it. And yeah, I know it'd be traumatic. It's hard for anybody to figure out how a society could operate without any form of money. But figure it out. That's what I'm hearing God tell us loud and clear. And that is contrary to what the evil do. That's the last thing they want. That's their worst freaking nightmare. They do not want you to find a way off this ship of fools, but that's it. And they kill people that try to find their way off. JFK. Remember, you listen to the speech he gave about these secret societies in America and how the American people find them repugnant. Okay? He was exposing these people, disempowering them. He was confident. He wasn't afraid to die. He was no coward. And that's what God is tasking all of us to do. You want to be his friend? You say you're his friend? That's a relationship he wants with us. That's what's written in the Bible. And you say, I have my own free will and accord. I want to serve you. That's the highest calling. Why? Because it's going to bring you the greatest happiness. And at the end of the day, if we don't attain true, valid, viable happiness, what's it all about? I mean, that's what we're after here. We got eternity. And to enjoy this moment in eternity, these issues must be addressed. They must be confronted. and they must be put in their place. They must. The powers that be, the money printing class, and all those that validate what they say goes, like Congress and Senate, okay, those are the ones, the obvious ones, okay, but behind that, I mean, there is those men in shadowy rooms, okay, that are calling the shots. They're the kind that erect the Georgia Guidestones, the Illuminati class, the Bilderberger class, the New World Order class, okay, that's who they are. And they don't care about fame. They want to hide. You know, we talk about these multi-billionaires. Listen, if you have access to the money printing rights themselves, okay, let me ask you how much you're worth. Aren't you pretty much worth as much as you say you're worth? I mean, trillionaire, that's a joke. You're an infinitaire. And that's a hand this crap, this is handing the torch off. This has been going on for thousands of years. The same crap, the same mentality, the same caliber, the same character, cast of characters. These badass actors are at the very top, uppermost echelons of power in this world. And telling you, this is it. You're stuck here. It's overwhelming. You can't do a damn thing about it. You can't change it. You can't. We've got it all fixed and rigged. We got them thinking that they're divided as Democrats and Republicans, as conservatives and liberals, as socialists and capitalists, when really that's just a trick. We've deluded them. We've deceived them. And they believe the lie, the majority, and they think it's logical and pragmatic to believe the lie. And just do what you're told. Go with the flow. Just comply, conform, capitulate, acquiesce. You can't, fight City Hall here, buddy. You're not going to change the system. It's been like this forever. This idea, you're a nut. You think we're going to go off money? You think these people would ever let us go off money? And who in their right mind wants to go off money? I love money. I get it. God gets it. We got to understand the forces in play here, man. And they mean business. They're powerful. And yeah, they blow your brains out sometimes. They kill you if you're too effective at what you're doing and you influence too many people. Even guys like John Lennon were very controversial for his time, and Martin Luther King Jr., very powerful, courageous, and JFK. I mean, that's the kind of people I want to end up with on the other side of this veil, man. I want to be around people that aren't cowards, okay, of like-minded people that stood up and at least fought it and said, you know what, we're never going to fix this, and it's just going to get worse. If I just cower and I'm passive about this and docile and just prescribe to an ignorance is bliss and just let somebody else's problem, can't worry about it, hurts my head. Hey, you know what? What are you going to get? Who are you? What have you done? You've just made it worse. Silence equals death. We all have to do something. We all have to contribute to this, to fixing it. And yes, a juggernaut of pure evil. It's hard because you are fighting against the norm, the status quo, establishmentarianism, people telling you, no, it has to be this way. There's no way we could ever get off money. And who would want to? No, the idea is you want more money, right? We get it. Money brings happiness. They're still reporting this crap sometimes. They go back and forth. It's sick. It's sick. The entire world is sick. And to solve problems means the loss of job security. If you drop crime, you know how many jobs, well-paying jobs, are involved in the criminal industrial complex. And remember, these crimes, this is like a sin. It's a transgression. And you get penalized, right? You understand how it's like a bad religion? And some of the laws are great. They make sense because they're based on morality. Others, you say, well, why? How does Trump pay $750 a year tax when he's worth, God knows how many billions? Don't ask me. Ask yourself. We got to ask these questions of each other, and don't let anybody weasel out of answering them. People in positions of power, they got some splaining to do. And we all need to demand that they do that and stop tolerating injustice. Don't worry about whose it is. Remember, the least of men, Christ said, that's me. And we got to, be able to, on Judgment Day, the day of reckoning, explaining to our owner our BS, our belief system, and what it's based on. We want it to hold water, so this is some serious crap I get into with people. Okay, and the reason I'm doing it is because I'm selfish. You can say, oh, you're trying to be altruistic, you're virtue signaling. It may be so. What's wrong with virtue? Okay, but I'm also a selfish man because I simply want to be happy. But it's nothing I've learned a long time ago. I can't go it alone. And I want to be truly happy. I don't want pseudo happiness. I do not want fame and fortune. What a drag. I don't get it. I mean, it's just bizarre that so many people think that they got it going on because they got a lot of dough, man. I don't give a crap. Man, what are you doing with it? The Bible says it's harder for a rich man to go to heaven than for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle, as a metaphor. It says that we should use worldly wealth to win friends for ourselves, to go out and buy friends, man. Give it away. Look at it like a hot potato. You don't want to be caught with your pants down, man. Circulate it. A lot of people, if it came across my desk, I had nothing on my mind. I'm getting everything I need.